And we are here, and we're going to let Elaine finish her thought because she was telling Clyde about something very, very, very important that I think people should know about this
Oh,
individual coming to Chicago here.
Abria Iyengar, who, if you follow Critical Role, if you watch Geek and Sundry, um, or Dimension 20, specifically she does more Dimension 20 than Geek and Sundry these days. She is an incredible DM. She is coming to Chicago on the 22nd of next month for there's a convention. I will go to my Facebook and find the link and repost it so people can see. So yeah, you got to follow me. Ha ha ha. But I almost lost my stuff when I saw it. After I squeed and scared the daylights out of everybody in the apartment, I was reading the comments and some dude just went off about how she can't be all that world renowned. I've never heard of her, and I've been playing D&D for like 30, 40, whatever years. And I just had to go like, okay, step away from the keyboard because, I will destroy my computer and will not have succeeded in reaching through the screen and pulling him through and then throttling him within, an inch of his life. But
Perhaps it's
luckily,
because she's never come to DM a game in his parents' basement where he'd have access to her.
oh my goodness, this chick responded with something very similar.
Yeah.
It just had me rolling. It's like so many people got up and were like, excuse me, if you have watched Geek and Sundry or Dimension 20 or Critical Role, you would know who she is. I was like, yeah, that's it, support my girl.
One of the guests that they've announced for the comic book convention down at SIU this year at Southern Illinois University is Kyle Starks. So I may have to dust off my copies of the 6 Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton and head down there
Ooh.
this summer to see
Signature
him.
time.
Signature time. I don't normally do that, but for him, I really have liked some of the things he's done. Or maybe just I could get I could get the Peacemaker Tries Hard trade paperback maybe and just have just one signature that way he doesn't have to like stack them up there.
But you won't get the cool story like I have with Chris Claremont if you if you remember.
Mm-hmm. Well,
because you never know.
I wouldn't get probably with my luck. I wouldn't get a story. I would get 6 signatures, and then like, okay, that's $25. Okay, or $250. Okay, for each one. What? Whoa! Now wait.
Yeah, I was about to say it is the it definitely will cost you. I only have like one Marvel story, and just that's Joe Duffy, who was editor of the Star Wars comic back in the day. They've gone through a few editors since Joe had it, but I just remember sitting there with what is now C2E2. Back in the day, it wasn't C2E2 yet. It was just Chicago. It was a Chicago
Comic Con before it became Wizard.
Yeah.
Good old fashioned Rosemont.
Very early 80s. And I just remember sitting there and she just, nobody who knew who she was. And I said, "You work for Marvel?" And she was like, "Yes, I edit Star Wars." And I was like, I just fangirled all over her, which you know how you're in the middle of it, you can't stop. But there's that part, the intelligent part of your brain starts in, eventually they're going to call security on you, right? Hey, kitty. But she then went into this like 20-minute diatribe of how George Lucas was driving them all crazy because he was slowing down the production of, we had talked about that the comic didn't come out that often because this is before I had the boys. So I had started buying issues and I wasn't able to find them that often. She said, "Well, they don't come out regularly like they should because Lucas won't let us put out a book until he's had a chance to go through it from back to front." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Because," she said, a couple of times he said, "Oh, she says we're working on that. We're working on an idea very similar to that. So you can't put it in the book until we do it."
Oh wow.
So and it's like, I wonder how many ideas that he took from them.
Probably a whole bunch.
Yeah.
That's Beanie speaking, I believe.
Oh, what kind of doggo is he? What type of pepper?
Oh,
But speaking of conventions,
mhm.
this is the week that we're supposed to be doing a special one, aren't we?
We are.
Yes, the Funnyverse.
Yes.
Mhm.
We're going into the Funniverse this weekend on Sunday. I'm going to flat iron my hair and do makeup
Ooh.
and look pretty.
I have special
She's like, I'm
t-shirts.
doing the red carpet thing. I'm just going to be up here. It's like I'm here. I'm just here.
So what Joe's talking about is the annual Multiverse fundraiser, and it benefits comic books for kids. That is an organization that puts comic books into the hands of kids that are undergoing treatments in hospitals and things, especially, if it's difficult for them to get laptops, maybe online is hard, or watching television can be difficult, but books they can take any place. No matter what kind of treatments they're undergoing, they can have books there. And Comic Books for Kids provides that, along with some of the same people involved in that have also sent comic books to our armed services that are deployed, and made sure that they had access to new comics and things. So it's a really good cause. And last year we had testimonials from parents and kids, people that had grown up but had the comic books when they were in treatment as young people, and how much it meant to them. So it is a cause near and dear to our hearts. And as Elaine said, on Sunday we get to do a CBS panel that is all about what runs or trade paperbacks we think deserve a spot on shelves of honor, the bookshelf of honor, for things that we would reserve for quality work like The Spirit, or Mouse, or Watchmen, The Dark Knight Returns, those kind of things that meant so. Comic books, the run or trade paperback that has meant something very
Near and dear,
special and personal to us, or just flat out, this is really good storytelling and it deserves to have a bigger audience. So 4:00 Central Time on Sunday, we'll be doing that.
Yep.
So
that link to be coming soon, because we're not running it. So that's the only reason why it's not being promoted the way that it should. But we're not running it. We have a moderator, so that's going to be kind of weird. It's like it's like the title card says, it's like pretty much these two are running things until they decide to take control away from me.
Now, so the picks that we have that we're gonna post to, because I've already talked to people who say I'll put the stuff up on Friday. That doesn't have the link. That's just the pick. That doesn't have an active link that they can click, right?
Well, I've got the links for the Facebook page that it comes up on, and they've been posting that on Facebook, so I've been like sharing it.
See, I haven't been seeing it.
Oh, I shared it. I shared it when you originally shared it. I then shared it, but I did,
but then I thought I would wait till closer to time, because a lot of times people will have seen it, but then they can't find it again when it's time, closer to time. So,
and I've actually had somebody today go, "Oh, can you post that again on tomorrow or Sunday, so I know to find you at the church?" It's like, yes.
Normally in the morning, every day, because it's a 3-day deal. They'll start tomorrow afternoon, evening, and it goes all the way through Sunday night. So, so normally what I've done in the past is post, here's the schedule for today, and here's your link to each one, or a link to the first one, and then it can just notify me to death on through the whole thing. So that was the plan for tomorrow. So we'll start with that then.
I'm talking with Beanie about the dog.
And
Okay.
and knowing you, you're going to have a very long Sunday.
Oh,
This is
don't
what
even.
Clyde does because he's on multiple panels.
Well,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
I do the B list boosters at 2 o'clock Central, and then 4 o'clock Central we'll do the CBS panel. But I've done the B list boosters quite a few times. I don't have to run it. I'm just a guest, so
Mhm.
it's not bad. And it's that hour goes fast though because everybody is so into this character deserves to have another shot at a one shot issue or a limited series, or this is my favorite character and we've only seen it a few times. And if you've been in comic books long, there's always those characters that you're like, I want to see more of that guy or gal. I want to see that superhero or that anti-hero or that villain. Could be a
Mhm.
villain
Hey,
too.
I still mourn the loss of Epic Illustrated because I
Yes.
loved Epic Illustrated.
Mhm.
I just it was Marvel's attempt at challenging heavy metal.
Yes.
There was a
Yes.
point
Mhm.
when several publishers decided to see if they could take part of heavy metal's market share, and you got Epic, you got 1999, and then there was one more that I can't remember. Um, but at 1999 was very adult,
Hmm.
very adult. There was the one I can't remember the name. They were much more sedate, and then Epic Illustrated was a bit between was somewhere between the two. They had some adult stuff like the Elric of Melniboné stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and then they actually had an issue where it that was completely about Vietnam. They had like a whole issue that was like Vietnam, but they had some. I The Jewish vampire guy. I got through either
Hmm.
Epic or 1999. Can't remember which one, but the one copy I have um, has an interview with Barry Windsor Smith in it,
Hmm.
and I fell in love with his work because Conan. He
Hmm.
actually did a lot of Conan artwork, but what a lot of people don't know, except for folks like us, because this is what we into as our jam. Um, he and Harlan Ellison did a story for Marvel. They did a Daredevil.
Hmm.
It was about I forgot it was Daredevil, and I don't think it was Spider-Man. I think it was Kurt from the X-Men. I think it was
Oh
Nightcrawler.
yeah, okay. I know. I think I know which issue you're talking about here.
There was a house that they got trapped in. They were lured to the house. They were trapped in it, and the whole house was a booby trap.
Hmm.
And what happened was this woman, her husband had been a criminal. Daredevil, doing his Daredevil thing, took him out. And they didn't just have to survive the house, they had to escape because the house, along with all the booby traps, the house was also going to go boom. But um, of course, Harlan Ellison did a bang up job of the writing because it's Harlan freaking Ellison. Um, but I really loved Barry Windsor Smith's visuals. His I loved his version of Nightcrawler as well as Daredevil because while he did the Conan stuff, he did both of them because they're both much leaner characters. Aw,
Yeah, he knew exactly who had drawn Weapon X. That's really good.
so I've always loved his work. And that was a copy I had got, and all of the other copies I had of that and Erie and Vampirella, you're moving around, things don't get to follow you, and I lost them. And I actually found that copy at First Aid.
Ah,
The James had it at Fair State and sold it to me for the list price of when it was originally sold.
Ooh.
And it was like,
You just
oh,
reminded me April will be here soon.
yeah,
Because I got stuff. You remember, I still have stuff here.
you know, but now that, you know, as I explaining to Clyde, Amazon and Chase have sent me the thingy, I can actually, you know, put something into us doing C2E2.
Elaine is thingified. You're thingified.
Yeah,
Yay!
I got thingified. It's not what you think. It's not
No,
what you
no,
think.
no, not what people think. No, no,
Hey,
no.
let their imaginations roll. It's a
Yeah.
Thursday night. Let their imaginations loose.
Yeah.
Get ready for the weekend.
In fact, if it's okay, what I might do, because I realized I don't have it right where I can get my hands on it. But if I've got an extra minute, I might just say,
I
"Hey, from the archives, see if you can find Epic Illustrated because it's good stuff."
in the whatchamacallit, in the
Ooh.
Gemini mailer for April.
Oh,
See,
okay.
Elaine forgot what she actually has over here
Yes, I have. I
that
forgot.
I pulled out of my archive because these were extras, saving her money and everything, plus stuff that, you know, she traded services for.
Yes,
But in
I
this
didn't
handy
hold
dandy thing because
myself
of the
out
simple
to
fact
tell.
that that's why she's in so much indebtedness.
Oh, nice.
Look how she's crying. She's weeping with joy. Like how she's weeping with joy.
Look at that.
And then her Vampirella cards.
Ooh.
How many issues am I editing for free as a result of it?
And then book wise, we got the book that started me on the X-Men right here, 191.
Wow.
Ooh, yeah.
And then the extra 97, the first time that Scott and Havoc fought one another.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that was
that
the extra. And then
yeah. Yeah,
it was like,
baby.
okay, fine. I lost the court case. Rip. Have fun trying to get it out of here.
Uh-huh.
Well, she didn't rip it. She, you know.
No, she balled it up. It'd be like and handed
She
it back to us and try getting it out of this now.
Because he was like, yeah, it's locked in the safe. You can't get it. So, you know, she picked up the
She was
safe
like,
and
okay. She picked up the safe and like, okay, get it out of there now.
Yeah. It's like, you know, but the thing is, they had already sent it to the printers. But the joke was the printer thought that there was a problem with the oh my goodness, what were they called? The because they had back then we didn't have phones, so you had to have you had to process it. The film had to be processed, and they thought there was something wrong, so they color corrected it. So she just looks like, you know, she just looks like some brunette chick that they took pictures of. And because she's not green, nobody know, you know, he can't prove it's She-Hulk.
Well, when it got printed in the magazine, she could not verify it. She knew that somebody took photos of her because of what had happened overhead when she was sunbathing at the Baxter building.
Yeah, but I'm saying
she saw what was going on because paparazzi and stuff is always around the Baxter building.
Yeah, but the thing is the joke was at the end was that they had already sent the stuff to the printers, but like I said, the printer thought the green was a problem in the I can't remember what are those little things called that they used to process in the pictures.
Those are you talking about the negatives.
Yes, thank you. I had a senior moment. Okay, I'll be 64 next month.
No, it wasn't a senior moment. It's technology moment because they don't use negatives unless you're diehard photography.
Yeah. So the when they were putting out the magazine, whoever does the printing thought that there was because she was green, thought that
The
instead
negative
of
was overexposed.
that it was overexposed, so they color corrected it. So he couldn't. So while he had pictures of her, she had brown hair. She had brown hair, regular skin, and brown eyes, because that's what they thought they were taking a picture of instead of She-Hulk. I guess he didn't tell whoever was doing the page layouts for the magazine. So, it was like, oh, so it's just some it just looks, it doesn't look like She-Hulk. It just looks like some random chick because she's not green. So
and because she was not standing next to
and she wasn't,
anybody,
so they
can't
couldn't
tell height or anything to say that. Oh,
yeah,
it's
there's
She-Hulk,
there's
that's
nothing to make
color correct.
comparison. So the whole point at the end was like she and the guy that the Native American guy who's also a mutant,
Wyatt Wingfoot.
yes, they were he brought her the magazine to see, and they were cracking up about it because it was like, yeah, you got your pictures, but A, you can't use any more negatives, and B, that ain't what it looks like. So so he has it, but then he didn't have it. So,
Right. They're like, oh, it's like nothing you could do about the negatives. It's over in this safe. Okay,
but
it's like, let's see you get out of this, and then they open up like I said, open up the magazine, and it was like,
because his attitude was like, well, we've already printed it, so ha ha ha. And then when he brought her the copy, it was like, oh, geez, yeah, I'm so scared of you. But it was, I really love those early She-Hulks. I couldn't find them all the time because, again, this was, I would have to go to like Crocs and Buentanos. Yeah, at this point, it feels like
so it's like Vina, the Orion girl in the Star Trek pilot that color corrected.
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck? Why is she green?
And they were like, she's supposed to be green. Yes. Very much like that. Very much like that. So it was, like I said, it was an issue I really loved, and you have it, and I am grateful because it's gonna go. I have certain bookshelves that I don't allow mortals to touch. Because those are certain books. Like I've got my Tolkien. I got a thing of Tolkien watercolors. It's a book that has reproductions of the watercolors he's made. That's not for anybody's touching. In one of the nightstands in my bedroom, I have a first edition of Brian Froud's Fairies. I ordered it used from Amazon thinking, oh, $25, I got it used, I'm okay. And then I looked and realized it was in almost mint condition, and it's a first edition. It's like, okay, you know what? This sits next to my bed. There's a price. Don't make me turn you into my very personal spank monkey just so you can even touch the book.
That's not what I was thinking. I was thinking it's like, so that's why everybody that goes over there, either they come out being themselves or they come out stubby.
I don't even tell anybody. Usually most visitors don't know that I've got that book. And since y'all don't know where I live, it don't matter. So
it's not like you're going to let me in anyway. It'd be like, hey, I was like, I don't know you. be like Bobby Hill. Like, I don't know you. That's my friend. Like, oh.
I wish we lived closer by, Clyde. I'm gonna make pasta salad for that day, so I don't have to cook. Because I'm not doing the show and then cooking after. This past weekend, Saturday, I did that's in my purse. I made pork chops.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with that King of the Hill episode.
Oh, okay.
where
It's
it's like
been a while since I've watched anything from Deedle D Productions.
yeah, because
That's that's the company that put out King of the Hill. They're
yeah,
called Deedle D.
that that was one of the funniest but strangest episodes ever because think about it for a young boy to learn self-defense through a women's self-defense class
Hmm.
and to cause all that drama because of it.
Hmm.
It made me think of Crossing the movie Crossing Delancey, which is a great movie. And if nobody knows what that movie is, it's okay. It's not comic book related.
Hmm.
It's so y'all can ignore it. But it had the young woman, the first ex Mrs. Spielberg is in it, and she's going to pick up her bubby from I oh really cool. Cool. But she's going to pick up her bubby from her class at the Y, and it's a older ladies defense class, and they're walking in a circle, clutching their purses, and the ladies like, "Come on, ladies, walk with confidence." And so it's this group of 80-something-year-old New York grannies walking in a circle, clutching their purses with confidence. It was like, oh my goodness, that's how I need to be at 80.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, anyway, that's what's going on this weekend. So I'm looking forward to my normal show and then doing that extra show on Sunday. So it's a good thing that it's later in the day. At least I can get some rest and whatnot before that happens. Oh, and I have to remind people that I'm not going to be available between 4 and 5.
Yeah, my mom is not likely to call me. If I need to, do they have a chat feature that we have to be a part of?
Maybe a chat
Clyde?
feature. I mean, it'll be just like how it is with StreamYard. We get
Yeah.
to see what's going on in the chat.
Should be set up just like our show here. So
Okay. Well, then what I will probably do is give my phone to Courtney. And then it's like if my mom calls and whatever, she can deal with it. Because it's like and this time I remembered I turned the sound way down and shut off the ringer and told the puppies to sleep because my notification noise is the dog barking. I love it when I'm on the bus and it goes and I'm like shh shh shh. I'm petting my purse.
Oh, making people think you got some type of teacup dog up in there.
Except it barks louder than any, it barks more like a very angry pit bull.
Yep. The bridge on Delaney Street.
Delancey, yes. I left I left the heart. Oh, thank you.
No, thanks. Thank you.
Yep. And
So sweet.
Don is finally showing up here.
Hey, Don. Okay, and Leia sent us something.
In a way, I'm kind of looking forward to Sunday because I know which book I'm talking about, but I think my honorable mentions should be on that shelf too. I showed one already, and the other one I know I already talked about in a different show.
Well, DC is over the moon that I'm going to be talking about his books.
Yep.
So
good.
I saw that post and I saw his reaction.
So yeah, I just got to remember to send him the link, so that he can check it out. And then I got to I have a couple of people I have to send my business counselor the link because she's always in my face and say, I never catch it. It's like, it's on Thursday nights. I don't know what to tell you. I've already told you the channel. I told you the show, other than show up at your door.
And trust me, if worse comes to worse, and if you twisted my arm enough, I'll be like, okay, we'll be right there. We gotta set up. I'm like, what are you doing? You're about to watch her be on this show.
We can do it. And I am one of the things on my list of things to get because I'm gonna upgrade the studio a bit is a ring light so I can balance the light for myself. So it's like I
I have to stop using mine. It malfunctioned. Well, I need to get
Oh,
another switch.
I've got one that goes up to 6 feet. So hopefully, because I also have to my I bought a drafting table for $70 from Walmart when we first moved in here. It is now falling apart.
Oh,
Courtney sat down at the desk to do something, and this steel drawer that sits under the table part, boom, just hit the floor. Scared her to death, poor thing. And I had to look at it because it's all metal on that part of the frame. And I realized they had glued it, the housing that you slide it into, which I put in backwards. But the part that it slides into was glued to the frame. It wasn't welded.
Oh, so she just sat down and blank.
And she's like, I'm so sorry I broke your desk. I didn't mean to break your drafting table. It's like it's like the thing is 9 years, almost 9 years old. It died on its own. It didn't kill it. It just died on its own.
You probably would look at it. It's like, oh, gorilla glue until it get replaced, or some type of metal type glue to put it back up and replace it.
epoxy.
Yeah, I was about to say I'd have to go get like an epoxy
Mm-hmm.
for it. And it's like, you know what? It's old, and it was what I could afford. And it's, the drawing surface is just about 2.5 feet. So it's not very large. And it doesn't it got stuck when I was trying to angle it. I can't. So it's got the angle it is the permanent angle because I can't make it go down and I can't raise it. I built it myself.
No,
Okay.
it just came out wrong. What you said just came out wrong. It's like,
Oh,
it just
I'm
stuck at
sorry,
this
Leia.
angle. I'm like, what? That came out so
Okay.
wrong in so many different ways.
I'm sorry. I'm a bad person. I am a very bad person. Bad. But yes, I had never built one of these things before, and I built most of it by myself. Um, and the trays at the side would they didn't drill the holes for them, so I never could get them on. So the trays with the different cuppies and stuff for your pencils and stuff, those things I could never get them on. So it's like it was never quite what it was supposed to be.
This sounds like the anti-IKEA.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was, it's like, but it taught me not to buy something like that from Walmart again.
All
I
fixed.
I
People who paid attention gets the joke.
I have found a better one for about $100 on Amazon. So, and I'm deciding whether to get that one or the one for 140, because the one for 140 has a glass tabletop, which means I can shine a light underneath and it will act as a light table.
Light box.
Excuse
Oh
me.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll act so I don't have to then go to Wish and take my chances on buying a a light box from them. Light boxes are not cheap. And it's funny because Crayola made a light box for $25. Crayola, it was a little lighted drawing thingies that they made for kids. But somebody posted about what is that?
He's typing something.
Oh, okay. What does somebody talked about how they make great, like how these things that are like little drawing pads for kids also make great light boxes, and then they sold out. And every time they come on the market, they sell back out again. And I never had the money to get them. So it's like, oh, well, if I spend a little extra money and get the one with the glass table, I don't have to buy a light box. I just have to make sure who's practicing to be Ringo Starr. I'm sorry. I am most well. No, I actually had a crush on Ringo. I will tell the truth. I had a crush on Ringo when I was a girl. And then he married that Bond chickie, and my heart was broken. You cannot put me in a corner, Leia.
I'm still laughing. You don't have to worry about it anymore. We fixed the problem here, Elaine. We fixed it. We fixed it with one little box on the screen.
With one little box. Is this what the thing that Leia sent?
No, you can't see it on the screen. Right there that says TVMADSLP. That's it. All fixed. We're good.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Yes, I see. You know what? Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it now. You sometimes have to direct my vision. It's like, because it's off to the right of Clyde's head. And my focus, until I get my new glasses, my focus is kind of limited. So I literally have to, you sometimes have to go, look over there. TVMALSB.
Yes, I made certain that when I go into, that's one of the reasons why people want me to rant, because when I go into the rants, depending on how my mind goes, it gets colorful.
You get interesting.
And that was kind of like one of those things that people at my job always laughs at me a lot, because I was like, you know what? This is a bunch of colorful adjectives here, and this, that, or the other, add another colorful adjective there. And I would literally say colorful adjective. I would not curse. I would just say colorful adjective. And they get the fact of how upset I am.
I, on the other hand, I don't have as much of a filter on my tongue as you, because you're more of a gentleman than I am. So,
well, I know that this is public space until you put up that. The way everything the YouTube channel set up is like, it's not for kids, but I know with certain language, you just got to be careful, because you never know who might be watching.
But I only said Walmart. Oh, before I forget, I'm baking pies in the summer. Does anybody want to Can you come to Chicago, Clyde, if I bake a pie?
No, I can't eat pie.
Shoot, that's right. So I have to make you something else. I have to make you something else.
No, you don't have to make me anything.
I make it. My LSD big for them, Joe. Oh my God. I made last weekend, Aldi sells these thinly sliced boneless pork chops. And I found that if you bread them with panko crumbs and fry them in a very little bit of olive oil, they are they come out juicy and flavorful. So, you and the missus come up for an event, let me know ahead of time. Provided I'll still be able to use my SNAP benefits for pork chops, because, they just put it out. They're limiting our SNAP benefits more and more. Yeah, I don't get paid for this, folks. I'm doing this for free. But, but yes, I will bake him a pie. I'm pointing at Joe.
I'm just reading here. It's like, that better be made with Splenda. I was like, what?
Yes,
Joe. I was like, Clyde cannot have pure sugar, but there's other things that you can use to substitute sugar.
There's stuff that, as I've gotten older, some of the stuff that really tastes good, like Splenda and some of the other things that you can actually cook and bake with, they give me ocular migraines.
Okay.
You
Here's the
know,
question. Can you tolerate agave nectar?
um, I would. I don't think I've ever had it,
Okay.
but I'd have to look it up and see. But I have just kind of cut all that stuff out of my diet because those ocular migraines, it's basically where you get all kinds of colors
Ooh,
you
yeah.
can't
No.
see. You
Oh,
can't.
no, no, no.
You get
So,
spectrum.
and I have retinopathy anyway, and so some of the sweeteners, all the stuff that they put in to say, um,
To
what was it they did a couple of years ago? They took all the sodas and they made it free. Whatever that
Oh, yeah. And then
whatever
they
that free is caused the retinas in my eyes to just bust.
um agave nectar, it's you know what tequila is, right?
Yeah.
Well, the process of tequila, they grow the agave plant. They then roast the plants. The first sap that comes off is agave nectar.
Hmm.
You can use that as a sweetener. It is lower on the glycemic, it is way lower on the glycemic index than
Mhm.
sugar. It's very low. Um, it's not super sweet unless you use a lot of it. I like to keep it so I can use it for tea or oatmeal, stuff like that. When I mix, it's great for smoothies. It gives you a little bit. It gives you a little bit of sweetness without being really sugary.
And see
I
the wife on her diet, she has some sweeteners that are little powder stuff, and I can't remember what she called it, but basically, I mean, the cup for it is like this little teeny bit. You put one of those in a cup of coffee, and it just, I mean, it's super sweet. But again,
Wow.
I'm cautious because it's not sugar. It's not supposed to have any kind of calories or anything in it. But I'm just careful because I'm afraid the chemistry may work against me. And the
Mhm.
one thing I want because of reading, writing, movies, comic books is eyesight to be good. You know, I don't have any issues with circulation. I've never had any kind of ulcers that won't heal or foot problems
Okay.
as a diabetic, which is a problem for a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
people.
yeah.
My kidneys are working well as an old guy.
Yay for
Um,
kidneys.
it's the eyes, it's the retinas that the blood vessels there are very fragile. So it's worth it to me to have a very bland diet and stay thin than to take a chance on. Also, it's hard to stop when you get something that tastes really good like that, something sweet. You know, it before you know it, you eat more than you should.
I
Well,
use a
I do anyway. So,
I use agave nectar and butter on things like sweet potatoes.
mhm.
So instead of brown sugar, I'll use agave nectar. And I get mine from Aldi because Aldi, it's actual agave nectar. When I've seen it at Jewel and other places, but I've noticed what they have is it's a blend. It's usually like agave nectar and maple syrup or something like that. Agave nectar is very thick. I get the dark
Mm,
because it's not as the light um is has been filtered and processed more.
mhm.
So the dark is rawer, but I prefer it because it's like Leah said, it can be very sweet. You don't need a lot. It's
Mhm.
so if I make coffee or something, I can put a little in my coffee or
Clyde
my
is now
cafe.
Doctor Strange in the Dormammu
Dormammu
universe.
universe. Oh, no.
Mamu,
Dormammu, I
I've come
came
to
to
bargain.
bargain. Boom. Dormammu, I have came to bargain.
Yeah. So
Stupid
Joe,
light nectar breeding up all the darkness in
darkness.
here.
Hey, I
Hmm,
get it for less than $6 a thingy at Aldi, which is
it's
like,
pretty good.
oh, yeah, because I found at Jewel and other places, it's almost double that for the same
Mhm.
amount. And a lot of times it's not pure agave nectar.
I
You're
wonder
getting
if
all
they
these
got it around the
additives,
corner here.
you know. Like I said, if you ever come for tea, Joe, You know,
No,
I have.
you don't realize I have like an Aldi, like literally like right around the corner here
Okay.
on
Oh,
79th
that's
Street.
yeah. I know. Yeah. Okay. I usually go to the one on 67th.
Okay.
I like because you get a lot of you get the kids from the University of Chicago and the Hyde Park Mavens there. So you get a lot of they have a really great selection.
Measurement and containment. Steve. Mm.
Well,
That's like I was like, how do you figure it? You're like, it got to be at least 3 thingies.
it's like, I want a thingy two, a thingy three, a thingy. Hey, I will be 64 next month. I get to use the term thingy as much as I want. She says, "Don't make me go in. Don't make me start sounding like that chick from Funky Worm." Okay, because that just drives all the kids here crazy.
I didn't know that he was a White Sox fan. I did
Goodness.
not know.
I have not been to a White Sox game since I was in high school. Back when it was called Kaminsky Park.
Oh, so you haven't been since the late 80s.
No, I haven't been there since the 70s.
Oh, you was there with the butterfly collar uniforms. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually used to have a piece of artwork up in Kaminsky Park. They had a citywide contest for high school art students. And my teacher decided that I should go ahead and throw my hat in the ring. And I didn't win because my original piece was very simple, spare, but it had elements of baseball. Crowd watching the game, players, cokes, hot dogs, stuff like that. So it was the basic elements of the game on the basic background. I did it on because you had to send them your original piece, which I did on watercolor paper.
Mhm.
And they liked it enough that they said, "Hey, we're going to send you the paint and stuff that you need and, do it. You're in the running." But then my teacher decided to make it look like pop art. So, all of a sudden in the background, we had these orange and yellow squiggly lines and stuff. And I actually had decided I wasn't going to do it. So he called my dad, and my dad dragged me to school and made me work on it.
Kicking and screaming and everything.
Basically. And of course I didn't win. But what they did do is they sent me $25 and tickets to the White Sox game. And they said, "Oh, and then we've got this little gallery area, and as a runner-up,
it gets shown there."
Yeah, and then I found out that once they remodeled and renamed it and stuff, all that stuff, has sort of
It got
gone.
tossed.
Yeah, it got tossed out, which breaks my heart because, on the one, because I'm feeling torn. On the one hand, what I turned in was not my vision for the piece. It was what my teacher decided and my dad forced me to do. But on the other hand, it's like I would have at least liked to have had it. Even if I could just, to redo it or something to say, "Hey, you know what? This used to be up in Kaminsky Park."
Hmm.
I don't know. I just felt that you would probably use it. Probably like, okay, I got it. Let me take a picture of it, and then you would use it for toilet paper.
No, what they did is we did it on. They were mini murals that we had to do on drywall.
Okay.
So they sent us. They would send them a list of the paint colors that we wanted to use and how much paint we thought we'd need. And they would send us, each of the kids got a big chunk of drywall. And I think it was 4 by 6 piece of drywall. and they delivered it along with all the paints. You had so much time in which to get it done, and then they came and picked it up. So, are you dying yet? Let me know when you're dead so I can bury you.
She wasn't kidding about that.
I'm an evil mom. He has long COVID, which is not contagious, but it's a bear because people downstairs smoke and not cigarettes, and so that irritates his lungs. So
okay, yeah, because that is, if it was cigarettes, it doesn't come through as much as what you're talking about.
Well, they smoked. I used to wonder if they were like digging up corpses and smoking them. The first group they used to live down there because our apartment stank because of all the stuff they smoked. And when they left and they were cleaning out the place, they were pulling out molded and mildewed mattresses. And I was like, oh my goodness, how could you sleep in that? Ugh, you know, but it affects his breathing. So we went out, a month and a half ago, we were running errands. He came home 24 hours later, his long COVID kicked up. He got sick. I got sick. Courtney got sick. Courtney and I, after a couple of weeks, got better. And he stayed sick. And it's partly because the weekends he has his gaming group. And he's hosting, he's talking. And he doesn't, I keep saying, the more you're on with your group, the more you're hosting, the more you're talking and whatnot, you're not giving your throat a chance to rest.
Yeah.
So the cough lingers. Most of it he's okay, but the cough is what gets him. And them smoking downstairs does not help. So it's just, so every once in a while, I'll go in there and open, slip my hand through the door and go, it's like, are you dead yet?
I'm just trying to figure out what you mean by bee hats when in Pittsburgh had the bee hats. Now, I remember that the Pittsburgh Pirates used to have a different baseball cap back in the 70s.
Yeah, they had the striped,
right,
because they were supposed to represent like a pirate's cap.
Right.
And I used to go, wouldn't kerchiefs had made, because usually when you think of pirates, you think of the big hats and then the kerchief
kind of like
around
the tricorder hats and stuff like that. It looks so much like a convict cap, to be quite honest.
And because they weren't your basic baseball style hats.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the
one we're talking about. Yeah. That's the one we're talking about.
They instead of being curved at the top, they were flat. They sat a little higher off the head and they were flat. And I used to think, as a teenager, because when you're a teenager, you're not a particularly kind person to other adults who can't come and smack the crap out of you. So, I used to wonder if somebody's, neurodivergent, 4-year-old designed the cap. And the person who turned the design in owned enough of the team where they didn't have a choice.
Well, it couldn't be any worse than like the 78 through 82 uniform for the Chicago White Sox because of disco and the butterfly collars on the uniform. Remember, it's like it wasn't just one. It wasn't just a home uniform. It was home and away had the big butterfly collars on it. I mean, it was like sticking out there. It was like they were wearing a shirt as opposed to a jersey.
And then they let Steve and Larry do the Coho Lip disco revolution, anti-disco revolution thing. Clyde probably remembers it. A couple of precursors to shock jocks, Steve and Larry. I keep forgetting Steve's last name, but his followers called themselves coho lips after the salmon.
Hmm.
And one summer he got it in his head because he didn't like disco. He felt disco was like killing rock and roll. And so they during
Disco demolition night.
yeah, they got a bunch of disco records, went to Comiskey Field.
And
They
blew
took
them
a
up.
and
And they blew them up.
oh my goodness, it was horrific. It was one of those things that I think in later because I think about 10, 15 years ago, Larry got interviewed and he was saying, that was one of the dumbest things we ever did.
Hmm.
Because it was, between blowing up these records, because understand they had explosives underneath them. So you have explosive vinyl, and we're not talking little 45s, we're talking the 30 full size
78.
album.
Yeah.
Okay, which are a little stiffer. Okay. So now you've blown up all this material, which is shot up and out. So you've basically just shrapneled the audience.
Hmm.
People got injured. Fights broke out.
Hmm.
It was the
the
Poop
worst
Show does not describe how bad it was.
one of the worst promotions ever
Oh,
in that ballpark.
I think WLS
ever.
at one point suspended them. I think Steve they got suspended for a while because the Sox sued WLS.
Mm-hmm.
They got sued. WLS Radio was a radio station for WLS Channel 7 TV. And they were a rock station. They used to do the stereo simulcast of New Year's Rockin' Eve back when it was on Channel 7 and Dick Clark was hosting. But yeah, this in one single evening, they nearly destroyed the radio station. Because I think the Sox sued them, Comiskey Park sued them, the city.
No, the city, the Sox, because during that time, I forget it wasn't Reindorf that owns them like he does now. It was somebody else. They sued them. And they still owned the ballpark at that point.
Okay, they still own Comiskey at that point. So yeah, it was just horrific. It was a riot. You had a bunch of these long-haired, they were high, running around. People were injured. They were running around screaming and yelling. They rushed the field. It was a nightmare.
People get into fights over the
music.
What was being destroyed. People got hurt. I mean, the game announcers did not know what to do to try to keep people calm. There was just nothing that could be done during disco demolition.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they didn't do it. It wasn't during a Cubs game, so we didn't have Brickhouse to calm it down. Because Jack Brickhouse I think they tried to do it at a Cubs game, and Brickhouse, among others at WGN, said no. No, because if something goes wrong, we will skin you alive and hang your corpses in front of the ballpark.
Have you not seen the WKRP episode with the turkeys?
Yes. Yes, that's kind of like how it was, but worse.
Oh, and I think this was before. I'm trying to remember if this happened before the KR. Maybe the KRP is based in part on that.
It was after.
Was it after?
No, this was happened before.
Okay.
I believe WKRP was what?
It was the 70s.
81,
no,
81,
70s.
No, 70. It was the late 70s.
It was late 70s. It was late 70s.
And
was it after 77? That's my question.
I have to look back. But the turkey episode was based on a lot of the people that were running the show had started their careers on radio. And So they had actually, there was a promotion they had with turkey giveaways where they did something similar to that, and the turkeys got loose and marauded across the crowd and everything. So that's where the turkey episode had a basis for that.
Turkeys could fly.
Mhm.
Les Nessman. No, I wish I could blow this picture up a little bit better. This is what Parallax is this talking about the butterfly collar uniforms with the short.
Oh.
Yeah. Like I said, the hats it definitely made them stand out. As a team, it definitely made them stand out. But
the Pirates, the Pittsburgh Pirates stood out because of those baseball caps.
Yeah, and I think they were also. I know the Sox and the Cubbies made fun of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Sox and the Cubbies. I think even Brickhouse.
Because they was the only team in Major League Baseball that had a different cap. Everybody else had like the standard cap with their team logo on. They had those specially made hats. But then again, not too many people made fun of them in 1974, 1975 when they won everything.
So Disco Revolution was in 1979, and they aired the episode of the Turkeys on WKRP in 1978.
Yeah.
So it had to be after Disco Demolition then, because Disco Demolition was that 77, if I remember correctly.
No, I just said the Disco Demolition was 79. And 78 was when they aired the episode.
Oh, really? Yeah. So
yeah, because Disco hadn't become quite the phenomenon until around 79, because that's, Saturday Night Fever was out and suddenly disco came to the front. Disco came to the forefront when Travolta, because that was one of the first movies Travolta did after Cotter.
1979.
It was at Kaminsky Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was. It was just okay. But I think WLS learned their lesson. Just because the DJ is popular, there doesn't mean you give them carte blanche. After that, they took a much sterner stance with their DJs. My mommy was still cooking. I was 18. Yeah, because back in the day, baby, I was it. Sorry, couldn't help it. Yeah, I was 18. And it's funny because I had some friends, we had talked about going to see it, because I was at Amundsen High School, which is at that time was a primarily white high school on the north side. The Access to Excellence program was Chicago's version of integrating the high schools. And I got sent to Amundsen, and kids I knew were kind of suggesting, "Ooh, we should go to that." And I'm kind of glad I didn't. A lot of folks got arrested. A lot of folks got injured. And like I said, the
hot vinyl anti-personnel mine.
Yeah, it was just just because he had this whole anti-disco stance. And if you'd ever seen these two guys, you realize really what was about. They couldn't get girls, even as popular Chicago DJs, they couldn't get women to sleep with them. Yeah, let's make sure we got that TV DMA deal. Let's be. I always thought it was like, the whole reason they did that's because they couldn't get women to sleep with them.
So I thought of you guys this week because there was a post that popped up on my Facebook feed from Original Chicago. It's kind of a retro Chicago site, and they had some images, I think, from some of the early years of the Bozo Show.
Ooh.
And so I looked over the stuff, and it's kind of quirky humor or quirky history of Chicago. And I thought that fits. Yeah, I'm gonna subscribe to that.
Okay.
Chicago
Can you
has
guys
some
indulge me
big,
for 1 second here?
Sure.
I just
you
got to show this to a certain person.
know,
Okay.
What you said in
Wow.
1976 was the experiment with the shorts, but that shirt
Oh,
stayed.
Yeah.
yes.
That shirt stayed because that was 1977, and they went back to the long pants that went
Yes,
along
because
with
they
it
were
from
trying to do they,
77 to 1983. That was
wow.
during the time where I was really, really, really into the White Sox.
Ah, okay. See, I wasn't paying as
76
much.
had the one time use shorts, and that's what she was showing here. But I was like, no, that jersey stayed a lot longer. The shorts went away. Yeah, I'm glad that happened.
Well, hello, not everybody wore their belts when they were wearing them shorts. So a lot of them games were, I can't, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You want to know why I was laughing? This is what was said. It's like, and lady, did you say that
Did you see that
TMADSP
TV?
stands for that lady speaks
Speaks
polo?
Yeah, but yeah, I don't, yes, because if I remember some of those teams had really short shorts,
Mhm.
because it's interesting men's basketball. When I was a kid, Clyde will remember the shorts they wore were much shorter.
Way shorter and the big
And
ass
I
tube socks that go all the way up to the knees.
Yes. And now they have the longer, baggier shorts with the other shorts underneath. It's like a whole. It's like I miss the day of short shorts because some of those guys had cute butts. I'll say it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had a cute butt.
now, now, like I said, I feel safer now since we have that one little box on the screen where we could get away with some of this hijinks without feeling bad.
Yes. I'm a horrible person. I'm sorry. You guys were so clean and proper before I showed up.
Yep.
You guys were basically
You
family friendly.
Batman eating out, has she?
No. I mean, put it this way: she has not been in a truly Brian K. Morris episode where everything was free game.
Oh,
It gets
okay,
worse
no.
it get worse than where we're at right now.
One of the
Oh.
Batman Black Label comics
Mhm.
inferred that Batman and Catwoman engaged in a tryst that DC people in charge went, no, that can't happen. Batman does not do that.
Yeah, but otherwise, if he didn't, there'd be no Huntress.
No, it's one of those sexual peccadillos that the corporate said we draw the line. That can't be.
Why?
So-
Because Batman like a little spanky?
No.
It's
Batman
likes to,
let's
eat
just say
out like a
Batman
fast
likes
food
dining
place.
than going
Yeah.
fishing.
Dining out.
Oh yes, Batman.
So
You go, Bruce.
So we
You
dedicated
go, Bruce.
an episode to discussing the possibility whether Bruce Wayne's a rich guy. He probably eats out all over town. Well,
Or
McDonald's
what is it
on
about
Monday
Selena Kyle that they just didn't like about him dining in that fashion?
Oh no! Hold on, Courtney.
And
I think we just
we've broken a lane.
We broke it a lane. Yeah,
She's
BK
just sitting
stands
there
for
looking at
Brian.
me like, yeah, and so it's like,
No, he wants to destroy the
Marvel universe. He doesn't want to destroy it. Yes, that's I love the way that's put. The cunning linguist. every woman likes a good cunning linguist.
Mhm.
It just makes the day. It just makes your day brighter.
But but the editors at DC said, no, shame
Mm.
for shame. It would never happen.
So it became a big thing because the creative team were like, "Hey, guess what? The DC told us that we couldn't do," and it just blew up. It was the Diamond going bankrupt story of the week during that week.
Ah.
And I delivered a soliloquy about it that was completely clean, and yet had Eric Hawkins and everybody that was on just rolling because it wasn't dirty. It was completely clean.
But it was funny as
But
all
it was
get out.
funny. Yeah, it was funny because it inferred so much. So
It's one of the things I love about you, Clyde. See, you are a decent man,
Thank you.
and I'm just a trash talking hoe. So
No, you're not.
you
No, you're not.
you temper me. You
Mhm.
temper me. So
Well, I worked for 30 years with people in emergency services, just like you guys have been in the military.
Mhm.
There was a time. Oh,
Oh no, I can't picture that.
sailors would go, look at the mouth on that guy. Gee whiz.
I can't
And
picture that.
I, it got to be where, and then I had a daughter, and I was like, I've got to stop this. Um, so, and I did. First time my daughter heard me cuss, she was like in her teens going,
I used I used to go in my room and close the door and put my head in the pillow,
"Hmm?"
you know, and would sort of shout things and while the boys couldn't hear me
At
you
least
know,
Jiminy Jillikers at the very least, yes.
I thought it was G Willikers.
Oh my goodness, that is hilarious. But
But
I could understand it. I could literally understand that.
we are at 8:14, so I don't have a book, but I also don't want to eat up time, so you guys can't do your books.
You got anything, Joe?
I mean, I got one of three I could do. I just don't know
Okay.
which one I'm going to do. I
Well,
just
is
probably
it
do.
one of yours? I want to kill the writer. I want to yell at the editor, or this made me feel good.
No, all three of them are like ones that I sort of kind of like. I just don't know
Oh,
which one.
Well, throw it out
We do,
there.
I guess we do this here. And only reason because I want to continue on with the storyline here. Plastic Man No More
Oh,
Book Two.
yeah.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's a nice cover.
Hmm.
Oh, the story I like. I like the story. I really, 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 really do. And people
Cool.
know how I feel about Elo O'Brien, aka Patrick O'Brien here. And this is one of the reasons why I gave it best art, because
Hmm.
it goes from this style here where he talks about things that happened in the past to how it is current day, and it does it in such a way where it doesn't take away from the story itself.
But the visuals tell you where you're
Right,
exactly where
it's like
you are going
where
to
his
be.
mindset is at. Is he flashbacking, or is this happening in current time here?
Yay.
So that's the reason why I love what Linz and Edgar has done with this book. So we start out with another flashback where they're up here talking about Plastic Man being a part of the Justice League and everything, and him fitting into how everything is going and whatnot. And they finally allow him to meet Metamorpho and everything, and they really didn't hit it off all that great and everything. And then he started to kind of like flashback to current time where he had his son and everything seemed to be okay, and he's like real proud of his son and everything, and because his son actually has the same power as him. Now, flash forward to everything that's going on right now, because slowly but surely, Plastic Man is losing his power. He is no longer able to kind of like maintain his body.
Oh no.
So, he has parts of him that will fall off and everything. He's trying to keep those things in order, and keep them in place just in case, it is needed later. But he's slowly deteriorating.
Oh,
He's
that's
going
got to wreck
Odo.
his sex life real bad.
He's going Odo mode.
Yes.
He needs a bucket.
Several buckets.
Several buckets.
His
But
cunning linguist days
he's
are
trying
over.
to figure out, the one thing that I can say about Plastic Man, even though, he was a criminal back in the day, he makes a very great detective and a great, if I could say, impromptu thinker. So he's trying to figure out what is actually causing this to happen, because he went out on this one mission with the Justice League. He got hit with something, and then all of a sudden, his deterioration just started. Now, mind you, in issue 1, he tried to tell his son about the fact that he's dying, that all this stuff is happening, and he's dying and whatnot. So now he kind of like has a flashback about him going to the Metalman and trying to figure out if there was a solution and everything. And then the Justice League is still trying to figure out, well, what could be going on, what could be going on, this, that, and the other. And they're really not offering him any help,
And
at least not in a way that is substantial enough for him right now. But it's taking just about everything for him to keep himself together.
Oh no.
So he's trying to figure out all this stuff that is going on, trying to, fulfill the mission and everything, but yet his body and stuff is still breaking down. And then we got Detective Chimp, and Detective Chimp was up here like, look, we need you. I understand, what's going on, this, that, the other. Why don't you let the Justice League help you? But he's kind of like in that mindset of, the Justice League got me into this.
Yeah.
It's kind of like nobody knows what's really going on. Nobody knows what's actually happening to me. Nobody has ever really figured out what those chemicals actually did to me way back when, to allow me to become Plastic Man back in Police Comics #1. Nobody knew what actually happened to him. So then we've kind of fast forward everything back to his son, and his son calls his mom and everything, and he was up here. It's like, well, his mom, Plastic Man's son's mom works at a casino and everything. He was up here trying to say, well, Dad tried to reach out to me, this, that, and the other. And he was trying to let his mother know that he just told me that he's dying.
Oh no.
What should we do? And she kind of like hung up on him, because it's like, never contact me at work, this, that, and the other. So he's now conflicted as far as what to do.
Yeah.
So pretty much Plas is going, from friend to friend to friend to try to kind of like backtrack everything about what makes him him. Everybody who has been a substantial part of his career, had a direct impact to his superhero life. He's like coming back and asking those important questions about, hey, ever since this has happened to me, have you noticed this, and this, and this? And, he's trying to figure out what's really going on and everything. And then here we get the actual talk between him and, I believe that
Is
this
that Robin?
is
that Nightwing?
No, that's not Nightwing. That's whatchamacallit. Dang it. Damien.
Oh, that's Damien. Okay.
Yeah, it's not drawn like Damien, but that's Damien.
Okay.
And they had a heart-to-heart conversation about fathers. So, Damien, whose father is Bruce, they have that heart-to-heart. It's like, hey, you can't do this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. You can't, get overly upset about it. And that's when Plastic Man's son finally came to his senses and everything, and pretty much did what they did here. So this now comes over to where Uranium from the middleman is up here, having like a small little poker game with the question in the middle of this whole investigation here, back to one of the scenes where Plastic Man actually got his powers. So they're trying to figure out all this other stuff and everything, and they're talking about what was going on, between like what's happening here and what happening with the case that they're working on and what actually happened in the in this lab many years ago. And then eventually Plastic Man shows up and everything with the rest of the middlemen, chasing after him, because again, technically Plastic Man is not supposed to be just like breaking into things or anything to that magnitude here. And he did this more so to the fact for he could talk to Uranium. So pretty much, they get into a fight with Plastic Man. Plastic Man is kind of making them look silly and this, that, and the other. Eventually, everything got calmed down for he could actually talk to Uranium. So they're up here thinking that, that Eel was up here trying to do something stupid, where he's actually just there to like, hey, I need to really talk to him about something, and only Uranium would know what actually happened, because whatever hit him in that mission that he was in caused his molecules to kind of like break down and everything to that magnitude. So here's his, then all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's like, hey, I fought this big gigantic magnet and this, that, and the other to the middleman, and that caused a lot of things to happen. And then Uranium kind of was falling in towards the bats and everything, and they up here were playing Plastic Man about everything that was going on, and then rope breaks. The bridge that they were standing on collapses and everything. They all fall into the vat of chemicals that kind of made Plastic Man who he was way back in the day.
Oh, that's not good.
And he's up here trying to save Uranium, because again, Uranium, out of all the middlemen, Uranium would be the only one that would not be able to survive in that polymer.
He's also the most radioactive.
Mm-hmm. So whatever made Plastic Man what he is was also radio. It really, his composition is so complex that nobody really knows what it is anymore. And that's when he tells his friends, like, you messed up and this, that, the other. You really killed him. It's like I didn't kill him. It's like they're not dead, right, Eel? Right? It's like, no. It's like no one will get hurt, I promise. And the reason why he promised them that is because as long as he's able to form, he could probably form some type of coating around him to save him. But he's dying, and he's going through all these different trials just to figure out what is actually happening with him. And it's being told in such a way where he's being kind of stubborn, but at the same time being responsible. And it's kind of like one of those catch-22 type stories. The more that you try to resolve something on your own, the more you see that you need other people's help. And you have to seek other people's help out.
Yeah.
And on that note, that's the reason why I give book 2 of Plastic Man No More an 8 out of 10. Oh, it gets deeper. This series gets deeper. Wait until we get to book 3.
Yeah. I never saw Plastic Man as a villain. My introduction to Plastic Man was the animated series. So I never knew he had been a villain at one point. I'd only ever seen him in the animated series.
This is the reason why I had to buy this reprint. This and let me put myself on big screen here. This is the facsimile of Police Comics #1.
Ah, okay.
This is the origin of Plastic Man.
Oh, okay.
Patrick Eel O'Brien was originally a safecracker for the mob, and they
Oh,
decided to go in to do this one job where they needed him to open up this one safe in this one chemicals factory. And they was able to successfully open up the safe, but in the process of getting away, he got shot at, and his compatriots left him behind after he fell into like this vat of chemicals. He thought, he thought he was dead because the chemicals were supposed to have been toxic. Nobody was supposed to survive it. So
right.
he falls in and everything. The guards and the police says like, okay, the other ones got away and this one is left for dead because of the fact that he fell into it. But lo and behold, he got out of it. He got out of the vat in enough time to see his compatriots take off.
And leave him there.
So he was struggling, trying to, figure out his way back, and he passed out. After he had passed out, he wakes up and he finds himself kind of like in this monastery like place. And when he woke up, he noticed that he had all this ability to stretch and all this other stuff.
Ooh.
And it's like, well, what is going on with me? He couldn't figure out what was, he couldn't figure everything out, but he knew that he had to leave because if people saw what he could do, they would try to alert somebody about this strange person who had these abilities. So
Yeah.
he left and eventually went back to the hideout where his compatriots at, and when they saw him, they was like, oh, we didn't know that you was alive. We thought you was dead, this, that, and the other. We should have known that good old Eel would have survived whatever fall that had happened, this, that, and the other. Eel, in his better judgment, set up his compatriots to take the fall for the robbery, and he takes off with all the loot. And that's how the end of the very first Plastic Man story began.
Ooh,
He
okay.
ended up turning the tables on the crooks that he was supposed to be in bed with. And from that point forward, we start to see the change over from him being a bad guy to a good guy.
Oh wow. So it's a great journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I
He has the true hero's journey. Am I right, Clyde, on that?
Yeah, he's
really
definitely,
truly has the hero's journey.
and he still has pangs of conscience. Sometimes when he was especially working with the Justice League in their main title and stuff, he would they'd have a crossover with the Justice Society, and Wildcat had known him when he was a safecracker, and he'd kind of needle him about, yeah, I don't trust you, O'Brien. It's like I knew you back in the day. I don't know that a leopard can change his spots that easy.
says the dude who used to do who used to go into underground fights.
Exactly. But he has a long memory too. So, but and also they have personality clashes, because to me, Plastic Man and those original police comic stories, those reminded me of kind of a powered spirit, because he had this weird sense of humor about those titles, and they carried that over pretty well into where he was a member of the Justice League, because what it was Batman said is, despite him being kind of a clown, he's one of the most powerful beings that we've ever had on the team. It's like that balance between the two.
It was so weird, and I'm not certain if you read the story within Injustice 2. Out of
No.
all the people that was in Injustice 2 that version of Superman was afraid of, he was most afraid of Plastic Man.
Mm-hmm.
Because
wow.
Plastic Man was that random.
Mm-hmm.
You do not know that he said, I cannot predict what he may do.
Yep.
It's not the fact that of his power, it's just the simple fact that he may do just about anything to catch us off guard.
Mm-hmm.
Chaos personified.
Yeah, he is. Very, very interesting character in all of his incarnations, and this is no exception. This latest adventure.
Cool.
I mean, I never known him to be just this stubborn, but I understand why he's being stubborn.
Yeah,
because nobody is going to be able to truly understand what's really happening to him other than himself. Because again, elongated man does not share the same type of power set that he does. He's technically is immortal until that happened to him.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's dying and hurting. It's more like I can't reform. If I can't reform, what happens to me?
You can't even go to Jimmy Olsen and get a dose of Gingold to
Right.
because he doesn't have a human physiology anymore. It wouldn't work on him.
So yeah, it's very, that's a very sad story. That to me, it's heartbreaking because it's like the thing that helped make him a hero in all this time is the thing that's going to kill him.
Even more so, as you read the story, is more heartbreaking because his death is the only thing that brought him closer to his son.
Yeah.
Eventually, his apparent death is bringing him closer to his son, and he cannot see it to his full fruition because his son has part of his power set.
Oh, and then there's that fear of what if what is now happening to me eventually
happen to him.
So it's not just the fact of losing his own life, but to know that what his son has inherited from him may also kill him as well.
It's a superhero tragedy that I think Shakespeare would have been.
Yeah, Shakespeare would have been
pretty keyed into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is one of the reasons why, at least I put it graphically on the best of 2024.
It made several lists for the best.
But I just kind of wish that more people were E. O'Brien fans. I really do.
It took him forever to get on the Justice League. Was it Morrison's run that he finally went, okay, we have, the elongated man. He's a detective and all, but really, if you're going to have a stretchy guy, why don't you have
the original OG? Get the Plastic Man.
The one that
we only got elongated man because the editor forgot that they had the rights to Plastic Man.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and besides, there's so much more you could do with Plastic Man than you could do with Elongated Man, aka the barter's dress.
Are you going to take us through the series as it progresses?
What do you mean?
As the are you going to bring us through the issues as the story progresses?
I think this is only a 4-issue miniseries.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if they were
miniseries. No, this is not an ongoing title. This is like 4 or 5 issues.
Oh, okay. That'll be cool.
So that's why I'm saying it's like it's good. It's good for what they wrote. And I was like, man, this is why I kind of miss ongoing series. I wish marketeers would just understand why ongoing series is just so much better than shorter contained stories. Because it's just so much stuff you could put into the last hurrah type go around than a short little story that may get overridden because canon got changed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's just the way that I think, but then again, I think differently because I have to think differently based upon publishing and kind of like having to have that editor-in-chief type perspective on things. That's the only reason why you tolerate me, because you're up here like, you need to think about this, and this. Like, I'll be like, yep, I forgot about that. Or I forgot about this. But it's still your stuff. It's like, no, you're right. I forgot about that. It makes sense. I got
that's
to
my
build it
job
in such a way where everybody will understand it without fail.
This is why he pays me, though, because my whole job is he does the book. I go through it. And, along with my snarky remarks that I occasionally throw in there, one day he will have to show you an editing copy. because he sends me the PDF, and then I put sticky notes
all over it.
all over
Did
it.
you print this on red paper? No. It was white at one time.
But I mean, it's like it's a rare page that there is no sticky note whatsoever.
When you
But
have
yeah.
to deal with comments, it's like, wait a second, did she just give her a titty twister? She just turned into devil. Like, oh no. That actually happened in issue 1 of Primetime Saturday Night, because
Yes.
the way that the
It was
person
the
was
way it
gripping
was
her.
drawn. It looked, she was reaching for her arm, but the way he drew it made it look like she had grabbed something else. And it's like, oh, that's not nice. That ain't legal. Come on, you can't do. Who are you telling me to?
It's like, oh, that got. She was like, oh, that gotta hurt. I didn't know you could do that stuff in wrestling. It was like,
that's not your arm, is it? Would you please loosen your grip?
Really quick, because I don't want to eat up too much of Clyde's time. For those who love anime and animation, if you have not watched the last season of League of Legends Arcane, I don't know what's wrong with you. It is, this year has been quite a year for animated series. League of Legends Arcane, and they only intended to do it for 2 seasons, and at $300 and some odd million, you can see that they put every cent on the screen. Everything from the voice acting, the visuals. The visuals are insane. That it's one of those things you can't you just have to sit people down and make them watch it. I highly recommend it. I give it 10 Vivian heads. Vivian tries right now, her head just spun around, she don't know why. Along with that, Castlevania Nocturne has dropped, and that was good. That was, I love the entire Castlevania series. Charles, friends used to put Charles on their computers for him to play it when he was a toddler. He actually could beat it. He was good. But I am in love with that series. Alucard. Oof. This one is set in the during the French Revolution. So the French Revolution, Elizabeth Bathory, and crazy vampires. And of course, Critical Role, Legend of Vox Machina. They've been greenlit for season 4. Mighty 9 comes out this year. Catch them on Amazon. The other 2 are on Netflix. That's on Amazon. And early, I can't say for the current episodes of Spy X Family, but I know the early season of Spy X Family just stole my heart. But I'm crazy that way. And that's the animation corner for today.
So fair like to say Tom King sucked. Again, I'm not going to go there. I hate that DC went back to the bullet logo. Is she a favorite with the 2006? I believe that's the page turning logo.
Oh, okay.
And then she hates Damian Wayne. And I hate Damian, but
I said I don't hate Damian. I think it's been interesting, and I'm just speaking as someone who's watched the animated stuff, watching his journey, because if you think about how he was raised by his mother.
I will say there. You have a point there. You do have a point, because the animated paints Damian in a different light than what they did in the comics.
Yeah. And I'm speaking as someone who has watched the animated more than I've read. Though his arc in DC versus Vampire was decent too. But in the animated specifically, because you see who he is when he first is sent to Bruce, and then that journey of, because and that constant butting heads, and then, well, my mother, my grandfather, and he's like, well, you're not with them, that's how they did it, this is how we do it here. It's, and I found it interesting to watch his journey
The only
because he had to
thing,
go from what he was told the world was and how things should be done to, oh, okay, you're saying that just because they told me that the sun was cold and the moon was hot doesn't necessarily make it so.
yeah, that's definitely animated. What make me kind of sort of tolerate Damien is the interaction between him and Nightwing.
They form a sort of brotherhood between them.
They literally became brothers because of the simple fact that there's certain aspects of Bruce that they don't like.
Hmm.
But it took Nightwing to break it down to him as far as why Bruce does the things that he does. It wasn't, again, technically Damien does not need Bruce when it comes to learning how to fight or learning what he needs to do to survive on the streets.
No,
What he needed Bruce for was more along the lines a or a different aspect of a moral conscience.
this is
And
what integrity is. This is what it means to interact with people without the attitude of, what can I get from you? How can I hurt you?
more along the lines, this is what your grandfather saw in Bruce to make him a choice to replace him. Not many people have that ability to replace the demon's head. Damien understood that.
Yeah.
Damien thought it's like technically it would have been birthright, but it wasn't. You have to be of a certain stock. Bruce was of that stock. He refused. Damien took resentment for that because, again, he was perfectly groomed by his grandfather and mother, and they were at odds. That was the other thing that people don't realize. Talia and Rosh was at odds always.
Well, they were at odds over Damien and how Damien should be raised and whatnot. But she's her father. I don't know. Push comes to shove, she's her father's
The
daughter.
family became split by the time Damien came around.
And I think that's what helped cause that schism. I think if she had not had Damien,
If she did not have Damien, they would have been two peas in a pod. But
yeah, that's saying,
because she had Damien,
and that changed her worldview because suddenly
it changed her view, and then also race also wanted to maintain a certain, if I could say, image. That was one of the main reasons why he kind of forbade Talia to tell Bruce about Damien, because he was hoping that Bruce would change his mind.
And it's also, tell Bruce about Damien and suddenly his control of the situation, diminishes. And as we know about Race, he's all about I'm king of the heap.
Not really king of the heap, but the family is more, the overall family is more important than anything else.
So long
and
as
a lot
he's
of times
in
what I
control,
want is not what is necessary to be done.
Yeah.
Reason why he doesn't have a problem killing off anybody else in his family, because if it's for the betterment of the entire whole, why not? What makes him the demon's head?
So yeah, I like I said, Race is I'm not as fond of Race.
Yeah, I gotta figure, but
we have to give. It's time for Clyde.
Before we
Clyde.
get off the case of Damien, though, I'm hoping of the books from last year, The Boy Wonder, that miniseries. I really hope that they give that a animated treatment. I would love to see that well done, and with that same kind of art style in an animation. I think that would be really good. And it's a very, that more than anything I've read in a long time has made me look at Damian as a more worthwhile addition to the Batman family than I had thought about him before. So if you guys haven't checked that out, look up The Boy Wonder. It should be out in trade very, very soon if it isn't already. So anyway.
May I add one more thing here, Clyde?
Sure.
You remember the other book here? What was it? Batman meeting Howard?
Yes.
That was another book that, to me, dealing with Damian, spoke volumes.
Yes, it
when
did.
he is put in a situation to be his own age. I thought that was a good storytelling, but I still have to catch up on it and buy in and read the rest of it.
Yeah, that was a really good, and they've got a continuation now too. They've done some other things based on what they set up in that, but yeah, especially for young readers, that's a really, really good story. Yes.
Dookie.
Anyways, here we go. It is
Okay.
gold standard time.
Hey, so what I'm going to look at is Howl #1. It's published by Ahoy Comics. The cover price is $3.99. The writer is Elisa Quitney. The illustrator is Elaine Marisette. Letters by Rob Steen. This issue also has some text stories. Gently Down the Stream was written by Kirk Vanderbeek and illustrations by Carol Lay. And Life on Mars by Bryce Ingman and illustration by Amelie Sullivan. So, Joe, if you want to show some artwork here, there's this cover explains. This is a I would consider it a sci-fi horror humor book, which is kind of an odd mix, but you get that feeling from the cover that, you know, it's the spaceman walking out in like this old-fashioned pulp sci-fi garb. This is actually reflecting two of the main characters who are in a relationship, and he's a science fiction writer, but they've hit rocky turf. So, okay, next page.
You see next image here. Okay, hold on.
This is 1957. So, and we have one of the main characters, well, actually two of them, but the main character there is saying, oh, look, let's go to this science fiction deal. She is very at this science fiction get-together in Greenwich Village. She is going to meet a guy who wrote a story that she really liked, published, and they strike up a relationship. So, next page. Okay, and we see where this is some of the things that Bert, the writer, has put down. You know, he's made a name for himself in things like Startling Tales and Galactic Magazine and Science Fiction Magazine. But as you can see, his personal relationships, because he had a wife and he had a child before he met Ziva, is, you know, he has relationship issues and he basically abandoned them. So, okay. So the story itself, it was a good start. It was like one of the first books I read for 2025, and I had all the New Year's ballyhoo in the rearview mirror now. And after the holidays, we tend to put on our cynical suits of armor. 2025's firsts. You're kind of curious how the first things of 2025 are going to kind of set the standard for the rest of the year. Well, my hope is that my year in comics and yours as readers, it comes into the first comic of 2025 experience that Quitney and Morissette brought with Howl #1. Good comics always find ways of capturing real-world truths and observations from the sublime to the satirical between the page gutters. But great comics do the same thing with deeper and more personal goals, peeling away layers which resonate our own experiences a lot of times. Even the most fantastic comic books can do that. And that may seem like a lot of credit to give a science fiction /horror/humor title like this one, but I think it's well earned in this case. Whitney's interests, invests rather a lot of her own personal history in the tale of Ziva Rodblatt, um, her paramour science fiction writer in this story, Bert Jeckley, and their bohemian associates in Greenwich Village circa 1959. Being of Whitney's generation, and I was surprised because I thought I saw her interviewed and she looked like a much younger person, but she's our generation, Elaine.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, I found her humor and the nuances in the character interactions very genuine, genuine enough. I got to admit, it rekindled some countercultural revolution era uh, things that made up my childhood and the circles that my parents traveled in during those years. It brought back memories of that.
Well,
So
the title made me think of Ginsburg's
exactly,
poem.
yes, and there's a deal at the beginning that's kind of an ode to Ginsburg. So yes, definitely it's the right track, the right mindset. Yes,
Yay,
um,
I got it right.
you did. The story also involves an alien invasion B movie scenario, echoing childhood weekends spent watching cheesy black and white horror films. um, just the same way that the Outer Limits narrator once demonstrated, such outside forces can take control of our vertical and our horizontal. Um, and probably also the military industrial complex and the workers of both blue and white collars. But this time, the alien invaders are focused on a different target. After all, you got to think that the most challenging part of conquest would be dominating the rebellious freethinkers and the poets and the dreamers that are just coming into their own during the late 1950s and early 1960s.
Yes.
If the aliens can overcome and understand this portion of the herd, surely the rest of humankind will be a breeze.
Oh, great. I can see the movie now. Aliens versus beatniks.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Fortunately,
The Coffee Shop Chronicles.
yes, fortunately, the Bohemians, including Ziva and a few others, notice changes which begin as the first extraterrestrial infections take hold. Unfortunately, because the people that are paying attention um, are from different genders or social standings that are really deemed appropriate, their warnings are ignored.
Oh
Um,
no.
and
It's
their
the
general,
blob.
and the general nonconformity, in a period where being different was both peer group and un-American activities committee punishable, does not help their case any.
Oh no. Oh
So,
no.
how well Whitney sets this tone was reflected in my own initial take, because I'm looking at it and I go, there are elements of this. That it's a mixture of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's the McCarthy era setting of the 1958 film or 56 film,
Mhm.
and it's hitched to the social insight of the 1978 remake with Leonard Nimoy.
But it also makes me think of if you ever the original Blob,
It does, yes, that's true.
because the whole point of they go to the adults, they do
Yeah,
what they're
yeah.
supposed to do, they go to the authorities
Mm-hmm.
and say this is what happened, and the authorities are like, oh, it's just crazy kids.
Bunch of kids, yeah, um,
There's a couple of those movies.
yeah.
There's that one, and then there's the one about the little green men where they stick the nails in you and they inject you with alcohol.
Mm.
The
Okay.
get the cow drunk scene is hilarious. If
So
I
go ahead.
no, I was like, if I find it, I'll ship you a link.
Okay. In interviews, okay, so then I saw an interview with Whitney, and she said, "Well, I really got the idea of this after watching the versions of Invasions of the Body Snatchers. I like the old one because of the setting, and then
Yes.
I like the newer one because it was like social strata of the 70s, and I'm like, well, I called that one, I guess. It's just like right out of her mouth. Um, so definitely on the same wavelength that she was surfing here. So in interviews, she also credited the marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh, okay.
In her approach, she said that she took a lot of the material in the spirit of collaboration um, between all the members of the creative team to do a Maisel-ish kind of conjoining. Now, the illustration of Belgian artist Morissette are, I think, pitch perfect. As you saw from what Joe showed us, it's a siren song. The imagery is like it's like watching a whole comic book of "Let's all go to the lobby." Okay, matinee animation, which I think matches this expertly. His facial expressions alone, they capture the sci-fi, or they captures the emotion of the moment, the frustration, and then the sci-fi pulp covers in that one stint there. And then another scene, he's got the self-help paperbacks that Ziva's mother ends up writing, and the homes and the workplace trappings. It's flawless. Now, it reminds me of my childhood, which you're like, well, that's the 60s, and this is supposed to be the early or the late 1950s, but we lived in the Southern Illinois region, so that was the same stuff we had at the house. So it's dead on right for
And
the time
people
period.
often forget that it was because of Ginsberg and those guys in the 50s that we then
Yes.
got the coffee shops and the beatniks in the 60s, which led into the 70s, because they became the teachers that then led to the 70s hippies
Cool.
and whatnot.
Cool.
So yes.
Cool, man. Cool. Yes, exactly.
So it, for those of us who lived through it, a lot of people looking from the outside don't get it. But for those of us who lived through it, it's like, yeah, people think that it just happened in the 60s or it just happened. It's like, no, those roots were being laid even in the 40s.
If you want to see kind of a microcosm of the time period that we're talking about here, the formation of the counterculture just starting, go watch episodes of Peter Gunn. That's a great blend of the previous and into the beatnik generation. So, as you can tell, this title definitely has a spirit of nostalgia, but that's just one level. The romance between Ziva and Bert, that's based on Whitney's real life parents, because her dad was science fiction author Robert Sheckley.
Ooh.
And her mom was Ziva Whitney, who was a writer and psychotherapist who wrote self-help books. Their courtship, their marriage, and the dissolving relationship becomes the basis for the relationship tangles that Ziva and Bert encounter. And the added fictional twists of a subtle alien takeover just add spice to the whole thing. In fact, her mother passed away, I think it was a year ago or maybe a year and a half ago, and uncovering the letters, some letters that her mother had kept between her and her father that she didn't know about, is what prompted her to take this approach to the story.
Cool.
So the storyline also serves up some wry, cutting commentary regarding the ills of the era from protagonists who are poised to call it out more loudly and bluntly in the decade to come. If the aliens think that they're going to have things all sewn up by overcoming the Bohemian and beatnik leaders of the movement, Ziva is going to prove that our would-be ET overlords share the Terran mycelial tendency to be unenlightened and also mushroom-capped poopy heads. So,
Mushroom
yeah.
Wow.
My birthday is February 12th, Clyde. I expect to find some interesting gifts.
Okay. Well, Howl number 1 is a comic launch that would have, I think it would have made both Roger Corman and Carson McCullers smile.
Oh, yeah. Corman would have loved this.
Corman would have delightedly given that Corman grin. And Carson McCullers would have given that soulful smile that she was so perfect for her. With companion short fiction sci-fi humor pieces, again by Kirk Vanderbeek, Carol Leigh, Bryce Ingman, and Amy Lee Sullivan. They're not as good as the main story, but both of those little short stories that they do in text with one image each, it just kind of it's almost like having an old Amazing Story pulp magazine because these are also science fiction stories and they're funny. They're funnier. Hers is more, funny, wry, cutting sense of humor. Theirs is just more kind of slapsticky.
Mhm.
Definitely takes some shots at our modern day high tech culture in their short stories. But it all together, this makes it puts together. It comprises an irreverent, ahoy firecracker of a book, and I gotta say, it set my bar very high for the comics year to come.
Yay.
I hope it's got more smart and uh, skillfully realized final. I mean, this is just the first issue, but it's a really crafted book, and you can tell it at every angle. And I hope that's sets the tone for the year. So, for the personal touches, the creative team, especially Whitney, invests so beautifully in this premise, and because it takes to task and pulls no punches about foibles of the 1950s and the 60s. Hell Number One earns my rating of 9 amazing story pulp covers out of 10.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't give nines off it, but
Nope, he
this
does
one earned
not,
it.
people. He doesn't. So that's what makes it a woo moment, as Elaine said.
Before I forget, Clyde,
Mhm.
have you read Heinlein's last book, Variable Star?
No.
Oh, I got it on Audible. Um, S- Spider Robinson. What happened was, I guess, Heinlein's widow, when they were going through his office,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
found the notes for the book.
Hmm.
And they were trying to figure out who was, what to do with it. And Spider Robinson got recommended at it
Hmm.
at a convention because and he does. I highly recommend the Audible version because he does the narration,
Hmm.
and it's while there are things in it are definitely Spider Robinson. Um, you can feel Heinlein all through it
Hmm.
because and I always felt Heinlein's writing overall was more Dickensian.
Hmm.
Yes, things could be kind of crappy and dark and a bit scary at times, but you knew it was all going to come out in the end.
I read Starship Troopers and one of his other earlier books. Then I read one of his later ones with um, real spiritual overtones. It was after he'd had a health issue, and a lot of people said his writing changed a lot.
Well,
And
yeah, the Book of Job.
that's it. That's the one I read. Yep, Book of
The Book
Job.
of Job. That
Hmm.
was the last one I read before this. Before that, I read Citizen of the Galaxy, The Cat Who Walks Through Walls, which is a favorite of mine. I'm now putting together a list of books I want to get for my Kindle library,
Hmm.
and I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to find the money to get at least one or two more bookshelves
Hmm.
so I can get my collections
I think my
together.
favorite. I think my favorite of his is The Moon is a Harsh Mistress.
Yeah,
I really like that
that's a
one.
good one. That's a good one. But yeah, but I always thought, because when I think about, it's like he's more Dickens. Bradbury and is more he's more Samuel Clemens. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That's fair.
Bradbury, Bradbury's more Mark Twain. Whereas Asimov, great humor, but he can be he when he does the humor, he's amazing, but he can also be really dour.
Hmm.
I always thought, um, and if you ever want something akin to reading the Russians that can leave you as depressed as it is amazed, just read anything by Herbert.
Hmm.
Because Herbert was kind of like I read I'm trying to remember which, I think it was Anna Karenina when I was like 13, and I never wanted to pick up another Russian novel after that.
Hmm.
It was like, really. It was like, oh man, that was bleak.
Hmm.
That was bleak. I was living in the projects bleak. But it was like no, and I know it's kind of stupid, but yeah, I was, that's how I thought of those guys. Where
Mhm.
Le Guin was in I don't know. I love Le Guin, and she and McCaffrey were kind of in classes by themselves, along with Octavia Butler. They were very standalone talents. Hard to like totally peg them into any one particular spot, you know, along with CJ Cherry. I love her.
I like Octavia Butler. I need to read more of her, but what I have read so far, really liked. So
Parable of the Sower. Have you?
mhm, that's it.
I love that one.
Hmm.
Parable of the Talents, Parable of the Sword. Those two go together.
Yeah, yeah. I read the first two, I believe. I need to read the last one, but yeah. And the science fiction background of this, you can the community of writers that Bert hangs around with. I'm like, okay, I know this is based on real people. Who's this? There's one guy that's like he's more established than the others. He's a little older, and
Oh,
he's handsy.
Asimov.
He's handsy with the girls.
Asimov.
I don't know. I didn't recognize him for certain, and they had the titles of the things that he wrote. I thought maybe that would kind of give it away, but it's I'm not sure. But there are layers there to go through if you like science fiction of the era and the history of
I will.
sci-fi.
I and I do as I start thinking about putting together my own little libraries of stuff. I
Hmm.
find I'm leaning more towards the older stuff.
Hmm.
I'm leaning more towards the older stuff. I mean, there are some newer things that are okay, but I don't know. I like sci-fi for grown folks.
Hmm.
I'm not trying to write sex for 12-year-olds.
I like to do a blend of sci-fi, somewhat serious sci-fi, but then I love space opera too. So I go back and forth, between them. But
The next project will be heir apparent is going to be kind of space opera because it,
cool.
it it's Earth and in the galaxy and all of that. So it's more the sort of grand kind of because I love both Star Wars and Star Trek. I refuse to have whenever those little fanboys get in my face, Star Trek or Star. It's like what? I can knock you through a wall. So
um,
let's try this. I knock you through a wall or I stomp you in the groin. Which would you prefer? And they were, neither. It's like, so go away.
and last year at the Multiverse fundraiser, they had a guy on the writers panel, and I had never heard the name, but he really was engaged in talking. He's written Star Wars and Star Trek books, and
Ooh,
he
okay.
just put out when last year's show. He just put out a Strange New Worlds book based on those Strange New Worlds characters. And since my wife and I were really into that show, and because he was so entertaining and made it sound so interesting, I went and got the book and read it. Um, and it's really good. It's an old West story set in Star Trek
Ooh.
without time travel, but it's
Okay.
really good. And so he's part of the Multiverse fundraiser again this year. He's just doing an interview with him one on one. But I've got it keyed in to tune in because I want to tell him I read your book. It's really good. Tell us more. What are you doing now?
This is why I'm happy I don't have the money to go see Abria Younger because I'm not sure if one of you guys will be happy to take a call from me going, I need bail money because I went up to her and I squeed and then I kissed her on the mouth and asked her to marry me and then I kind of forgot what happened after that. But the cops were not happy.
Mm-hmm. Security was definitely involved, and after I beat on them for a while, then they had the regular police show.
Lives weren't lost, but
Good.
there's a lot of injury. I just I don't I fear the day that one day you guys will get up on the show and go, Elaine couldn't be here. She went to a fan event and we're not allowed to talk about it.
But we have a GoFundMe. We'll put the link here in the comments. She needs bail.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Also,
Eric
she
just
says if we can go over the bail money a little bit, she's also got an autographed copy of her book to be picked up at the.
Oh, speaking of the book, it'll be no one wanted to be a beta reader. My heart is
What?
broken. Yeah, I cried about it, curled up, kicked my pillow. I'm over it now.
Yeah.
Won't say the words because it'll not be good. But I'm taking time off to get a few other things and get my head out of that. I will finish up the covers and the last of the formatting in February, and then at the end of the month, the book will be. I'm gonna ship it off to Amazon. I will have a copy PDF if any of the guys in our crew want to look at it. You're more than welcome, and I will make the PDF available. You know,
Okay.
and
Hey, Joe,
Yes.
how about pulling the pin so we can get out of here and get some rest? Because we have a
Yeah.
big
I'm
weekend
just
coming
waiting
up.
for you guys to say, "Hey, it's over with."
yeah, and Eric just sent us something.
Oh,
Eric just
oh,
messaged us. So
He probably sent. Yeah, he probably sent us
he's so good to
the
us.
new thing here for what he was working on. So we got to deal with that here. So let's go ahead
oh,
and have Elaine do his thing. Her thing.
Mhm.
thank you guys for whenever you watch this. We are always grateful. Tell your friends, tell your family, because the more people we can get to like and subscribe, we might actually make some money, and that would be good because young men ain't cheap. But anyway, you can find me here at Comic Book Spectrum. You can find me at Elaine Haygood here on my own channel. You can find me on Facebook, Elaine Haygood. Business people only, find me on LinkedIn because, they're crazy business and over there. Uh, but thank you for spending time with us. We love your faces. Y'all behave. Don't make me have to come find you, okay? Because it will get ugly and they ain't got enough money to bail me out and get me the right legal representation.
And here is Clyde.
Okay, so on our outro here, I'm Clyde Hall. You can find me Radiating Positive Vibes with author Clyde Hall or just as Clyde Hall on Facebook. I make a daily post there on Radiating Positive Vibes to made little things about nostalgia and art and writing to improve your day. And I'm also on I'm on Twitter at CJHall1984, or I'm on Blue Sky at Captain Action, all one word, .bsky.social, or check out my Amazon authors page right down there. So I write comic book reviews for comicsbeat.com, aka The Beat, and I'm also a writer for Stormgate Press, and they have new pulp is what they specialize in. New pulp like Pulp Reality #5. It's just come out. It's a tribute to the mass mystery vigilante tradition, but other books that Stormgate Press has done are pulpy science fiction, pulpy westerns, pulpy mysteries, all sorts of things. So check them out at www.stormgatepress.com to experience the best in new pulp entertainment. We have a sponsor, but I'm going to let Joe do the intro for that because I want to tell you about ways that you can see us more this week. We talked about having to get our rest, and that's because CBS has an hour-long block as part of the Multiverse fundraiser on Sunday, January 26th at 2 p.m. We're going to talk about comic book characters that we think deserve a shot at the spotlight in B-List Boosters panel on that day. But now CBS, our show, our hour-long block, is going to be things that we think deserve to go on the shelf of trade paperbacks, graphic novels, collected runs of a series. So our Comic Book Spectrum panel, our CBS panel, is going to be at 4 p.m. Central on Sunday. And the Multiverse fundraiser, like we said before, it goes for they raise money on this online convention that goes from tomorrow through Sunday for Comic Books for Kids. And that's a group that provides comic books for kids that are undergoing treatments, medical centers, rehab places. And it's a really, really great, it's a great charity. And a lot of comic book shops contribute to it. In fact, you can listen this week. You can donate to the Multiverse fundraiser. Listen to all the panels. We've got schedules that are going to be going up. Some of them have already been posted. But if you want to help out, also check with your local comic book shops, because a lot of them are already donating to comic books for kids, and you can donate more directly in a way that supports your brick and mortar comic book stores too. But the Multiverse fundraiser this weekend, and Joe has got a commercial that'll tell us all about what you can expect.
The Multiverse fundraiser is a virtual con-a-thon and a charity fundraiser all rolled into one package. This year, we've teamed up with Comic Books for Kids to raise funds for their cause. Comic Books for Kids is a charity that provides child-friendly comic books to children in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. On January 24th through 26th, we'll be providing both pre-recorded and live Comic-Con style content to include celebrity, comic, and writing guests that include Creek Wilson, Jeremy Lee, Leah Williams, Jerry Gaylord, R.J. Conti, John Cosper, and Dean Hill. Visit www.themultiversefundraiser.com for more information and instructions on how to both tune in and contribute. Remember, we're not just raising funds for a good cause. We're raising fun.
And there you have it. That's going to be the Multiverse fundraiser happening this weekend. And don't forget about seeing our panel here on Sunday, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. This episode of Comic Book Special is also brought to you by Jeffrey Hayes of Platinum Fire Graphics. If you need that specialized cover to bring people to your table for your book, your graphic novel, for whatever project that you're working on, give this guy a call. Why? Well, the video will speak for itself as far as how good he is.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
Now go ahead and give this award-winning author a little bit of a message to say, hey, I want you to work on my brand new cover here right now on plasmafiregraphics.com. Mention to Jeffrey Hayes that you heard it here right on Comic Book Spectrum. As far as myself, I will be back here on Saturday for another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I'm still not 100% about what we're going to talk about here. I am going to forego our Whatnot show for this weekend here because I technically almost forgot about the multiverse fundraiser here. So I want to be at my best here. So I'm not going to do for this month, we're not doing a Whatnot show. So the second weekend in February, we are doing our very first Whatnot show for the year. So look for that being a message either on my personal Facebook page or on Instagram or somewhere along those lines as far as when we're going to be up and going on Whatnot, the new books that we're going to have up for sale and everything to that matter. And we're going to also concentrate more on the books that we produce here at CGC Studios on those shows too. So until Saturday, I bid you guys farewell. And unlike Brian K. Morris, I don't care if you wash your hands, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. We are out of here for another week here on Comic Book Spectrum. Hope to see you back here next Thursday. And for those who hang with me on Saturday, I'll see you Saturday. Peace out, and we're out of here.